Do you want to learn how to do your own walkthrough inspection? Stay tuned and I'm going to show you how. Hi everybody, it's Deb from Deb's RV Services and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to teach you how to do your own RV walkthrough inspection. First, I wanted to let you know that this does not take the place of a professional certified RV inspection. I'm not going through everything that you would need to do for a certified inspection, but this is going to be a basic walkthrough inspection. And I'm going to go through 5 different areas. So grab your pen and paper and get ready to take some notes. So the first area that we're going to go through is the exterior. In the exterior section, you're going to look at all of the sidewalls. You're going to look for signs of delamination or rot. You're going to be looking at the sealant that goes around the RV. You could have it along trim rails, you have it around doors, you have it around windows. It is usually a clear looking silicone sealant, and you want to make sure that it is not aged out and cracked and worn. If it is, then that sealant needs to be replaced. You're going to go on the roof, and when you go onto the roof, you're going to be looking at the front caps, the end caps. You're going to be looking for signs of cracks in the sealant. You're going to make sure that you look over at the corners of those front caps and end caps to make sure that you don't see gaps in separation in the sealant there. Those areas are prone to have it. You're going to look around each vent area, and you're going to look around your plumbing vents. Anything that's on the roof, you're going to look at all that sealant and make sure that it doesn't have holes or cracks in it. If it does, there is a chance that water intrusion could have happened and gotten in there. You're going to also be looking for some soft spots. Now, back down to the ground level, you are going to be looking at the tires. You're going to look at the DOTs if you can find them, which is going to be a 4-digit number, and it's going to be the week that it was created, and it's going to be the year that it was created. So you're looking at the last 2 digits. If it's 22, then it's for the year 2022 is when they were made. You want to make sure that the tires are no more than 5 years old. So sometimes you cannot access that DOT and you have to actually go in between the tires, which makes it a little bit harder, but do your best to try to find the age of the tire, take the pressure, the PSI, and I will have tools linked at the bottom of everything that I'm recommending for you. But you want to use a pressure gauge that you can take the pressure of the tires, and you want to compare it to what the recommended pressure is from the manufacturer, which you could find on the sticker. Usually along, if it's a motorhome, it's along that interior door. If it's a travel trailer, it could be along the sidewall. You'll see the stickers and then just look for that area that shows you the recommended tire pressure that would be cold, the cold pressure. The next thing that you're going to look at is you're going to look at all the different seals around the RV to make sure that they don't look cracked or worn or out of place. You're going to check the windows, the window seals. You're also going to test the lights on the exterior. So if you're in a motorhome, you could just simply turn it on, put on the hazards and the headlights, and go around and make sure that all the lights are on and they're blinking as they should be. If this is a travel trailer or fifth wheel, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to do it unless you had a tool to check the lights. I have something that I take with me, but it was something I paid for. They're not an inexpensive tool, but you can also maybe have the owner hook up the RV so that you can look at the lights. You can have them hook it up to their truck, or if you have a truck, you can hook up the lights and just make sure that they all work. The other thing on the exterior that you want to do is you want to check the slides. You want to run the slides in and out and make sure that you don't hear any odd noises or scraping sounds. Please take a video if you do, and then I will tell you at the end of this video a way that you can use my consultation services to help you determine if this is something that is a red flag or not. You want to look underneath the slide and you want to see if there's any signs of water intrusion or staining or rot. And if you see anything there, take pictures of that as well. The next area number 2, is going to be the interior. So let's move on inside and go through that. You want to look at the floors. You want to look at the walls and the ceiling. You want to make sure that you don't see any signs of cracking or like you'll see signs of water stains. On the flooring, you might see cracks in tile. You might look under the floor and along the edges of the walls and where the wall and floor meet, and you could sometimes see water staining, or where the wall is had water intrusion at some point and maybe it dried. but you can start to see the wall kind of fray a little bit or expand. So sometimes when water gets in there, it expands out and it will start to form like a thickness. Okay, the thickness in the wall. It's different than the other parts of the wall. So you're looking for things like that. You're looking for any kind of staining on the ceiling. If you were to have seen something on the roof that had holes or cracks, you're going to go on the interior part and you're going to look at the ceiling and see if you see any sign where water had possibly gotten in on that level. You are going to look at all the windows, especially the exit windows. You're going to make sure that they work. They push open. You're going to check all the windows. You open and close them. You open and close the cabinets. And when you do that, use a flashlight so that you can check those dark corners, because a lot of times you can't see very well inside the cabinetry. You're going to open everything up and close it and make sure that it all works like it should. If you see something wonky and that doesn't make sense, take a video of it. Take a picture if you're not sure. Okay, area number 3 is the plumbing system. So you want to make sure that the owner has a tank full of water for you. And you want to turn on the water pump. And I like you to use the water pump because you can also see if there's leaks by leaving it on and seeing if the water needs to continually repressurize. If it needs to repressurize every minute or so, then you might have a possible leak. However, if you hear it pressurize and then you're not turning on any water and you don't hear any noises, then that's good. That means the system is pressurized and staying pressurized. You want to turn on all the sinks in the shower and you want to just run them. You want to see if there's any leaking around the faucets. You want to open up the cupboards underneath and you want to let the water run for a few minutes and use your flashlight and check and make sure that you don't see any drips or leaks coming out of the plumbing. Look underneath those cabinets too and make sure that you don't see any prior signs of leaks. When you're flushing the toilet, you want to hold down that toilet pedal. You want to look behind it and make sure that you don't see any leaking coming from the toilet itself or from the plumbing behind the toilet. So just go ahead and keep that lever down and look behind it and make sure that everything looks good. You want to look on the sides of the shower to make sure that you don't see any area where water has escaped from it's not sealed around the shower itself and that water hasn't escaped and caused water damage along the side. You want to make sure that the shower walls aren't cracked or anything like that either. You want to make sure that you look around the skylight and make sure that there's not like blackness, like it could be a black mold or some type of staining like orangey color. You want to make sure that you don't see softness or anything. You feel around the area. That goes for any area that has water and any area where there's a slide and maybe you saw something in the outside. Always check the inside to double check it. You also want to turn on the water heater and you want to make sure that it runs hot water. So turn on the water heater in the beginning of your walkthrough. And then when you get to the plumbing section, you're going to make sure that you have both hot and cold water. You also want to make sure that there's no leaking from the tanks underneath. So one thing you can do is make sure that if you make sure those tanks are filled, when you're doing your exterior portion too, you can also look and make sure that there's no cracks in the tanks, no water leaking underneath the RV. Area number 4 is the electrical system. You want to check the outlets and the lights, the appliances and the batteries, the inverter, all those electrical components to make sure that they work correctly. So you're going to turn on the lights inside the RV. And you're going to do this 2 different times. So when you go in there and it's hooked up to shore power, you're going to see that all the lights work correctly. And then when you disconnect it from shore power, you want to make sure that the batteries are working, and you'll see that if the lights are still working and they're on, then it's getting 12-volt power. So that's 2 ways to confirm that the batteries are working. The other thing you can do is you can find a battery monitor inside of the RV. If it has one, you can check the voltage on it. So you're looking for DC voltage without shore power of somewhere around 12.6 to 12.8 volts DC. If it's running lower and it's maybe 12.4 or below, it's possible that you have bad batteries. Especially if it's down to like 12.1, it definitely means you need to replace the batteries. So batteries are only going to last roughly around 5 years. That is for the lead acid AGMs. AGMs don't need to have the water added to it, the distilled water. The lead acid does need to have that. And if you want to step further into checking batteries to see if they're maintained, you can open those caps, but I would wear gloves. And then you want to see if there is distilled water, the proper amount of distilled water, which should fill over the cylinder in there. And you can take a flashlight and you can kind of gauge in there to see what it looks like. But overall, if you have a voltage that is lower than about 12.5, then it's possible that the batteries have not been maintained and they're not holding a charge. With the converter on, so when you're hooked up to shore power, you're going to see something around 13.2, 13.4 volts. And that would be normal while you're hooked up to shore power. If you have an inverter in there and they have a solar package, you really can't isolate the solar. And you can look on the solar charge controller to see what it's pulling in. But unless they have a disconnect switch on there, you can't really turn it off to see what's coming in when you're unhooked from shore power and what the batteries are without the solar connected. So that's a little bit more difficult. But you can see if the inverter is working by shutting off the shore power, and then you can turn on the inverter. And what you do is if you are told like it runs the refrigerator, maybe go look and see if the refrigerator turns on. If it's just to run some outlets, you can use your outlet tester and you can see if you have voltage there. So that's one way to check the inverter. The other thing you want to do is you want to check the outlets and you want to make sure that you have proper GFCI connections. So you should have GFCI outlets in the exterior of the RV and areas near water, so your kitchen and your bathroom. What you would do is you would take your tester and you would put it in the outlet and you'd press the test button and it should pop that breaker. And then you can just reset it when you find the reset area. Sometimes they're in the bathroom. A lot of times they're in the bathroom and you just hit that reset and it resets the whole thing. But you should see when you're checking your outlets, you should see around 120 volts. There are times if you're running something like the air conditioner, you might only see 117 volts. So you want to see something around that area of 117 to 120 volts. So you want to check the outlets. You want to make sure that you're checking the batteries. You're checking the inverter. You also want to run the appliances there. So you can try to test out the microwave. You could even go as far as taking a thermometer and a cup and testing out water to see that it's heated up after you run the microwave. You can also test out the convection oven. You can make sure that it warms up to whatever temp you set it to, like 325. You can also turn on the air conditioner, and what you want to do is you just want to turn it on and make sure that it cools. You want to turn on the furnace and make sure that it heats. If there's a dishwasher in there, you could do a small cycle, a rinse load, and just make sure that it works. And you could also run the washer and dryer and make sure that they work too. When I'm doing my inspections, my washers only run on like a 30-minute cycle. So you could just do these things just so that you can make sure that all the appliances work. If there are any other appliances in there, go ahead and test them out. If there's an owner there, you can have them demonstrate it for you if it makes it easier. Area number 5 is more the mechanical. So if you have a motorized RV, you want to check the engine. So you want to turn on the RV. You want to make sure that it doesn't make any funky sounds or there are no error codes up on the front dash. You can check the mileage. You can run the front dash AC and make sure that that works. You can run the side mirrors. You can run the shades if they have them and make sure that they all work. If it's not a motorized RV and it is a travel trailer, if it's a travel trailer or fifth wheel, you're not going to need to worry about that. You can check the coupler when you're looking at the travel trailer and make sure that that looks okay and that it opens and closes. You can check other things like the jacks, and you can check that front jack and make sure that it moves up and down. And certainly in a motorhome, you can also check the leveling jacks too. The other thing that you want to look at is the propane system. You want to look at the propane system and make sure that you don't see any cracks or anything in the lines. You also want to make sure that the venting is pointed downward and there's a cover over the regulator. If it's a travel trailer, they won't have a cover over the regulator necessarily, but it should be pointing downward. But on a motorhome, it should have that cover over that ASME tank. You want to make sure that the tanks in a travel trailer aren't over 12 years old or they need to be replaced. So if you're looking at a really old if you're looking at a really old travel trailer, you're going to see those big tanks there. I would check out those dates. Also, check your life safety items inside the RV. So make sure that you have all the life safety items there. For instance, smoke alarms, propane carbon monoxide detectors, and fire extinguishers. The fire extinguisher should not be more than 10 years old. The smoke alarm can be up to 10 years old. And the CO and propane detector needs to be changed every 5 years. I want you to look at all of those, look at the dates on the back, and push the button to test it. And make sure that all those work and that they're within the date range. You can always have the owner run these systems for you to demonstrate them. And so what I want to encourage you to do is take videos and pictures and write down notes while you're doing this. I do have a checklist on my website. If you subscribe to my newsletter, you can download a free PDF with a checklist. It's not broken out into area like I explained it today, but it has all the components on there and you can just write notes, or you can just take your own piece of paper and write notes. Now, after you're all finished with this and you're saying to yourself, okay, now what? I'm not sure if there was a problem with that slide. I'm not sure if that stain I saw was a water stain. I need a little bit more help and a little more guidance. Well, I'm offering consultations on these type of walkthrough inspections. This is what you need to do. You need to, down below, I'm going to have a link in the description, and it's going to send you to a calendar where you can book a 1-hour consultation appointment with me. You can set it up in the calendar on yourself with my available dates and times, and you can pay right there, and then we will have a one-on-one scheduled. I would just ask that you have pictures and video that you can send to me so that I can take a look at these and while we're talking through the inspection. Now we're going to meet on Google Meet, so we will be face to face. So this will be a great time that I can answer other questions for you. If you just want a coaching call or a consultation about the RV or about anything related to RV, you can book that as well. And you can book these appointments also by my website by going to debsrvservices.net, and you can book the appointment for a 1-hour consultation. So I hope this video helps you and gives you lots of great information. I think it will. And please like and subscribe. I have a lot of people that watch my video, but they're not actually subscribed yet. So please subscribe. And I look forward to hearing your comments and you booking appointments with me. I'm really excited about this new opportunity. So I will see you on the next video, and you all have a great rest of your week.